Tays, let's start talking here about the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers. Of course, a rematch of the Super Bowl. I mean, can the 49ers please just win one? Like, I think that I make clear that I'm like rooting for Kyle Shanahan in so many ways. I would love for them to be able to pull this out. Let's start from the 49ers offense versus the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Of course, the 49ers offense just continuing to deal with injuries. Shanahan's offense is continuing to evolve, whether it's like this continued trend of just kind of less play action, a little bit, that more kind of traditional drop back passing where Brock Purdy is super comfortable in that way. And we talk about Purdy, extending the play, getting deeper into that down and really, having that as a positive situation for him. I do really want to shout out Dominic Puni at right guard here. I think he's just playing really well and showing a lot as a rookie. I think that's a situation where coming into this year, we looked at the 49ers offensive line and said, maybe you have a hole here, a hole there. But when you have a rookie that's able to step up like that, real positive situation there. What do you have for the 49ers offense from a numbers perspective?
Yeah, I love the right guard shout out, but I think there's not enough talk about how like drastically different this 49ers offense is this year compared to like the normal Kyle Shanahan offenses, and not even just like the Shanahan offenses we've seen in San Francisco, just like his kind of tree as a whole, or like the McVay Shanahan concept where you have an offense that leads the league in time to throw right now, is second in average at the target and 31st in yards after catch. Like this is a totally different offense than what we've seen from the past in San Francisco. And a lot of it just falls on Purdy playing well, really just trying to get the ball downfield, like understanding where he wants to get the ball, and not having Christian McCaffrey kind of for some of those 0 to 5 air yard passes, and just like wanting to get the ball in his receiver's hands. So that's been really interesting to see this year, is just like how different this 49ers offense is. Some of the things that and like you mentioned, no play action, or very little play action compared to usual as well. But some of the things that they do similarly compared to last couple of years is like they're very personnel diverse. They like to get in 21 personnel where they bring Juszczyk onto the field, which makes a lot of sense. They are still using a lot of motion, which is also really good. And even despite some of the injuries, and Brandon Ayuk still working himself into playing shape, they rank sixth in EPA per play, fifth when they're passing, and 12th when they're rushing. Jordan Mason, I think, has also had a really good season running the ball there as well. So just like overall, like pretty good offense as a whole, but just like the style of it is just so much more different than what the Chiefs defense saw last year in the Super Bowl, just like 7 games ago.
Yeah, of course, without Christian McCaffrey, things look different. I do think, Shanahan has continued to, not that he's moving away from play action, but I think that he's able to get some of the positives just in different ways. I love like Purdy's ADOT is insane, and then Patrick Mahomes' ADOT is really low, because just thinking about them as quarterbacks, you would maybe think that that's different. I think part of that is, obviously how defenses are kind of facing them. Of course, from the Chiefs defense, it's a multiple defense. They're going to cover you in different ways. We're going to talk about Trent McDuffie at some point or another. They disguise things in different ways on the back end, but they'll also shift things up front, where you're going to see, kind of like a line or a player lined up as a linebacker. They're going to move down to the defensive line, and that just shifts things for the offensive line a little bit. Where now, like at the snap, you got to, not that you're communicating things necessarily, but you're changing kind of how you block things on the fly. And of course, the 49ers offense, where still their base is going to be an outside zone, that you're going to find, or you want to find different ways to manipulate their double teams, or trying to, get a guard looking the wrong way in some sort of way. What do you have from a stats perspective here for the Chiefs defense?
Chiefs defense has again put together a pretty good season so far this year, and we know Steve Spagnuolo defenses usually get better as the year has gone on. So the fact that they already ranked 10th in EPA per play allowed has been good. Where the biggest improvement has been, and this was something that we talked extensively about before the Super Bowl last year, was like the Chiefs' run defense wasn't good at all last year. They put a lot of resources into the three other aspects of their team. Run defense just happened to be the one that they punted on, and just didn't get much out of it. But this year they ranked seventh against the run in terms of EPA. So I think that's been really impressive to see how they've kind of flipped that, where they're definitely getting better play out of their run fits there. On the pass rushing perspective, 12th in pressure rate, fifth, and the ninth highest blitz rate in the league so far. So they've been really good when blitzing, and they like to blitz a decent amount. So they can definitely get pressure on its own just because of what Chris Jones and George Karlaftis provides. But when they send an extra pass rusher, they're performing really well when they do that as well.
Thinking about just a positive matchup here for the 49ers offense against that, really tough Chiefs defense where you have Chris Jones who he will shut down a game for you. What do you think just a positive matchup here for the 49ers offense?
I think this is going to be a very high motion rate game for the 49ers in this game, where right now they use motion on about 70% of plays, as charted by our friends at FTN Data, and that's the fourth highest rate in the league. But the Chiefs have not been good against motion so far this year. So we'll probably see Shanahan turn that dial a little bit, just try to use motion on a lot of different plays. And when the 49ers do use motion, they'll pass a bit more than their base rate, or their non-motion rate. So that's something to watch out for. And then they'll also decrease their average up the target by about a yard. So when they're using motion, they're just trying to hit that intermediate area of the field a little bit more often than going deep off of plays that don't have motion.
There's so many different ways to use motion, whether it's, you're creating a leverage advantage, whether you're just pushing a few, you're moving the linebackers in some sort of, or you're just kind of dressing up a concept. I just love the 49ers use it in so many different ways. And you have to imagine against the Chiefs. Yeah, of course, they're going to keep using it as part of their identity, but I want to see, how are you using it in the run game, particularly where you want to find ways to create space on that front, just in different ways. So I think that's something that I'll be monitoring because I mean, without Christian McCaffrey, like, are you getting any more play action in this game to pick up on the linebackers? Because certainly in that Super Bowl game, like, your offensive game plan is going to look different when you don't have McCaffrey overall. So let's think about now from the Chiefs defense side. I don't know. What do you think just a positive matchup is for them in this one?
So, given how Purdy has been really big on high time to throw, high average up the target so far this year, the Chiefs defense needs to do a good job of like not letting him, have his progressions down the field. And when you have Trent McDuffie, who I thought should have won Super Bowl MVP last year, like he can help you do that, and they'll need better play from the rest of their secondary to get San Francisco to throw under 5 air yards on a lot of passes because the 49ers have not been good when they have to throw under 5 air yards this year. They rank 30th in EPA per pass when they have to do so. So forcing Purdy to get the ball out quick, because they don't have that Christian McCaffrey outlet option that can help you get a positive play, when you throw underneath, like that'll be a key for the 49ers or sorry, for the Chiefs defense in this game. And I think there's multiple ways to get there for them, whether it's blitzing, and trying to mess with the 49ers protection systems or kind of just having McDuffie erase the player that they think will go deepest on a certain play.
I am excited for the just like pretty play extension in this game, whether it's, with the Chiefs decide to play man coverage, like, I mean, like, how do you even like match up with George Kittle, who's I think has been certainly good over the last few weeks and obviously been good for so much of his career. I do think that, it's a question for every team like that you play against. Like, how can you like extend the play against man coverage? Like, are you able to kind of continue to create plays? And I really I want to see how many McDuffie versus Ayuk snaps we get. It's not that, you're playing man coverage, like he's following. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, but there are going to be situations where Ayuk and McDuffie end up across from each other. I think those are just going to be so fun to kind of watch back. What do you think? Just a fun matchup that you're going to look forward to here for the Chiefs defense?
Chiefs defense, I mean, it's just always fun to watch Chris Jones, but like you mentioned at the top here, like him versus Pooney will be very fun to watch. Just because you have this emerging guard who's played pretty well this year, but then you're facing off against one of the best defensive players in the league. So I'm excited to look out for that in this game.
Yeah, I love that. Like, because that's absolutely a fun matchup. I just, I start off by mentioning Pooney in that situation, but yeah, you're going to take a Hall of Famer against a rookie as much as you can. That will be a lot of fun. Let's move on here to the Kansas City Chiefs offense versus the San Francisco 49ers defense. Obviously, the Chiefs offense dealing with injuries at that running back and receiver position. I mean, last game, like Juju Smith-Schuster had a bunch of targets. Of course, you have to move to kind of relying on Travis Kelce a little more, getting him ramped up early on, just getting into way more heavy sets. So you're reducing the amount of receivers that are on the field, finding ways to, I mean, like they're going to keep on having quick throws. Like that's just kind of natural in their offense, whether it's, just a little quick screen attached to a run concept that's going to kind of naturally deflate your A dot, and then it like makes your passing chart look all weird. But hopefully they're able to kind of find ways to push the ball down the field. Here, what are some of the numbers you have for the Kansas City Chiefs offense?
Yeah, so when you look at the numbers for the Chiefs offense so far this year, it is interesting because they rank first in success rate. So just like on a down to down basis, they're doing a very good job of increasing their chance of scoring on each particular play. But they rank 10th in EPA per play. Some of that is the lack of explosiveness that they have in their offense, but also the just like kind of like some of the turnovers that they've had. Like the end zone interception last week or 2 weeks ago in their last game. So, that'll be interesting to follow in this game. But yeah, they're using a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. And they're really wanting to run the ball out of those groupings, especially when they put multiple tight ends onto the field. And like you mentioned, like they have the lowest average at the target in the league. So they just like a lot of short passes and really just trying to move the ball with yards after catch because of the defensive looks that they get.
I mean, the highest success rate offense in the league. That's so kind of fun because like when you look at the Chiefs offense, you can find like 12 different ways to criticize them, but it's like, oh wait, like they're just producing down over down and they're able to find ways to kind of move the ball. And it's just no, I think maybe it's like, all right, well, you want a certain offense for Patrick Mahomes, like you just want to see all these kind of crazy highlight clips, but sometimes it's gonna just be kind of churning out down after down. Let's flip over to the 49ers defense here where the 49ers defense, like they play their style of football over and over. You continue to have just like all time level play from Fred Warner, where it's like you can almost guarantee one like forced turnover in some sort of way from him per game. You do get injuries at that safety position where, you're continuing to kind of test the depth there. What are some of the stats you have for the 49ers defense?
49ers defense this season has ranked 13th in EPA per play allowed. They're 10th against the pass and 16th against the run, but they're just like as a they've just haven't been good on late downs. So you're hoping that that regresses a little bit, but it might also just be a function of how their defense is. Where Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd will generate some pressure, but they don't have too much out of that. They play a lot of zone, and Ward is obviously good as a corner for them, but they don't have a ton outside of that on outside corner. The Hufanga injury is pretty big for their defense, so it'll be interesting to see like how their kind of late down performance does relative to their early down performance the rest of the year because those have had pretty big discrepancies so far this season.
What's a matchup you like here for the Chiefs offense against the 49ers defense?
I like when the 49ers will blitz in this game. The Chiefs defense should have a huge advantage where you have a 49ers defense that is blitzing, not a ton, but on about 18% of plays, which is about league average or a little bit below that. And they've been the worst defense in the league when they've sent extra pass rushers so far this year. So this is really just going to have to be like a bait game from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, where you don't take sacks, keep having those successful plays without much explosiveness, and you try to make the 49ers get a little bit desperate and send a blitz, and that's where you really can take your deep shot to Xavier Worthy or try to get Travis Kelsey, a ball 15, 20 yards downfield, like different things like that to increase their explosiveness.
I like that because San Francisco by nature wants to rush four and they don't want to get into that. Certainly on third downs, like they'll get into kind of different pressure packages where of course we think about the Super Bowl. You think about some now infamous third downs for the San Francisco 49ers. I do want to see, can the Chiefs, just like, are they going to constantly win on the interior in the run game? Are you really just going to be able to push around those 49ers defensive tackles in ways that, maybe you're forcing the 49ers to just, line up literally in a different way to kind of deal with that. What do you think is a positive matchup here for the 49ers defense versus the Chiefs offense?
Yeah, when the 49ers play zone coverage in this game, they should have a decent amount of advantage where Worthy's target share goes down against zone. So you're kind of taking their wide receiver one a little bit out of the situation. Fred Warner can help take away Travis Kelsey and pass him off, and doesn't have to run with him across the entire field if Andy Reid is calling those types of plays. And then like I think the big thing out of playing zone in this game is Mahomes can't have those back-breaking third down scrambles as often just because of the way that the defenders are facing him instead of having their backs turned to him when they're in man and he can take off.
I do want to see is Nick Bosa able to just create issues for the Kansas City left tackle? Are you going to be able to kind of stay disciplined on the defensive end when Mahomes is going to extend the play? I think that'll just kind of be a fun one to monitor. What do you think? Just maybe a fun matchup here for the Chiefs offense.
I kind of liked what I saw from Kareem Hunt, on his limited carries so far this year. So using him outside in this game and also just like on checkdowns, I think will be beneficial. Like something that we identified last year going into the Super Bowl was since the 49ers play a lot of zone, the Chiefs really like throwing to Isaiah Pacheco when they're facing in zone. Obviously, they don't have Pacheco in this game, but I still think that a similar concept could play out where they want to use Kareem Hunt outside, and then when they see zone, we'll see a decent amount of checkdowns to him because the space will be there for him to get a successful gain on the play.
I just hope they find ways to throw the ball deep. Like there all are, I think, so many different matchups that we talk about that we like. I want to see them manufacture ways again because like that safety depth in San Francisco, you have to be able to test it in some sort of way. And now if they're like just playing 40 yards back and you're just gonna have Xavier Worthy kind of run that off, I think that's a different sort of situation. But you have Fred Warner really patrolling the middle of the field and taking out so many different situations. So what are the different ways that you're gonna find to pull that safety down just a little bit and maybe be able to throw over the top of the other one. Let's finish off here with just a kind of fun matchup here that you're looking forward to kind of from the perspective of the 49ers defense.
It is Fred Warner versus Travis Kelsey. Kelsey was probably someone who didn't want to like have to grind out the regular season and kind of save himself for the playoffs like he did last year. But with all the injuries that the Chiefs had, I think Kelsey probably has to really like ramp up his level of play and they had the bye week to do that. So it'll be really fun to see him on one of the better linebackers in the league in this game.
Yeah, I think overall it's going to be a really fun game. It's going to be fun to kind of compare it to some of the past matchups. Obviously, different teams, different players on the field, but I just think a lot of good is going to come from this, and really, it puts together a really good slate.